Hello and welcome back to Crafty Not Shifty. As promised, today I'm going to be sharing with you how to make a box which perfectly fits the candles that I decorated in one of my earlier videos. If you haven't seen that yet, I'll be sure to have a link below showing how you can make this candle using stamps and dies. So these candles are approximately 6.5 inches tall by 9 inches round, and I'm going to show how you can make these milk box style boxes to package them. And here you can see I'm using a small peg and a punched tag just to finish that off. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab my other candle. I made this using the Mama Elephant stamp set, and I'm going to get a piece of 12 by 12 cardstock that I'm going to cut down to 11 inches on one side and 11.25 inches on the other side. The next thing that you're going to want to do is bring in your scoring tool. If you don't have a scoring tool, you can also use a scoring attachment to your paper trimmer. And on the 11-inch side, you're going to score at 2 5/8 of an inch, 5 1/4, 7 7/8, and 10.5 inches. All of these sizes and measurements will be listed on my blog, so you can click the link below just to double check those measurements. So you're then going to turn the paper around to the 11.25 inch side and score at 2 5/8 of an inch, 8 5/8 of an inch, and 10 3/4 of an inch. So I did, you'll see in a minute when I turn this over and reinforce all of those folds. Off camera I did already have a score line on this paper, so you'll see that there's an extra score line that I'm not going to use. So I've got this section here, and it's just on that bottom section there. You can vaguely see there's an additional score line. I hope that makes sense to you when I fold it over and I show you all of the sizes. So once you've reinforced all of those folds, you want to lay your paper so you have the 1/2 inch flaps across the top and the bottom, and then this section just here that I'm colouring in with my pencil so you can see, we're going to cut that section off, and then we're going to cut along each of those score lines, and we're just going to notch each of those cuts slightly. So you want to cut straight up so you have a perfectly straight line, and then just slightly trim off a very small triangle on each side. And the reason that we do this is to make sure that when you fold the box up, it has a really nice clean fold and the edges of the paper don't butt against each other. So it's a really small amount that you're trimming off on each side, and I'll just zoom out again so you can see that a little bit more clearly on the other cuts. So you want to make sure you cut each of those edges, each of the score lines, as well as the end of each side of the paper. And then for that last flap at the end, you're going to cut at a slight angle on the upright and then just perfectly straight across on the horizontal score line. It's a really small amount of paper that we've cut out, but it's just enough to make sure the box folds up nicely. So now I'm going to add a window to this box. So it's not this first panel here, but the second panel. So I'll just outline that in a pencil along each of the score lines so you can see it a little bit more clearly. And you can skip this step if you want to have your box to be completely closed, but I thought it would be quite nice, since we've gone to so much effort decorating the candle, to make sure that there was a small window section so you could see through. So what I'm doing here is I'm marking using my Tim Holtz ruler. This is a really great ruler. You can see through it, and it has the measurements, so it's really easy to actually measure in just I believe it is 1/4 of an inch, and that's along 3 of the sides, and then from the top it's a slightly larger measurement, so the opposite side to the flap you want to cut 5/8 of an inch. So I'm just marking these out, as I said, with my pencil so you can see it more clearly, and this is the section that we're going to remove. So now I'm going to bring in my self-healing craft mat and my craft knife, and I'm just going to cut each of those out. Now if you wanted to, you can skip the step where you mark it out in pencil and just directly use your craft knife to cut that out, but I think actually it's quite helpful to mark it out with a pencil first, just to make sure you're happy with the measurements and that those lines are nice and straight. So once you've popped out that section, you can then leave it blank like this, but what I like to do is take a piece of overhead transparency. You can use a leftover piece of packaging and cut that down to fit inside. So you're going to want to cut that to 2 5/8 of an inch by 6 inches. As I say, you don't have to add this step, but it just adds a nice finishing touch to the box. Once that's cut out, I'm just going to remove the backing sheet and we're going to stick that down, and I'm using some of my 1/4 inch score tape along the 3 sections that we cut at a 1/4 of an inch, and then on that slightly larger section I'm going to use the 1/2 inch score tape. If you don't have score tape, you can use any double-sided sticky tape or wet glue. You just want to be careful that none of the wet glue oozes out into the front of the transparency sheet, because you will see that if it does. So I'm going to peel off the backing from this double-sided sticky tape and carefully stretch across the overhead transparency. You want to make sure to take some time when you're pressing this down to make sure it's nicely stretched across that window so it doesn't kind of ripple and bubble. So I'm just using my fingers to smooth that out and make sure it's nice and flat. You could also remove those pencil lines if you wanted, but you're not going to see them anyway, so I've just left them there. So using the 1/2 inch score tape again, I've just folded in that section on the right and applied the score tape. And now I'm folding up the bottom panels and I'm going to apply score tape again to each of these. Once again, you can use wet glue or even a Pritt stick to hold this together, but score tape has a really nice strong stick. So I'm just going to apply the score tape to 3 of those panels, because you want to make sure that when you fold this all up, the final panel, so the one that you'll actually see when it's folded up, doesn't have any score tape on it. Okay, so now you can peel off the score tape from this section on the right hand side, and you just want to fold in the box. This seems to be the easiest way to kind of put it together and to make sure that it's nice and straight. So using those score lines from earlier, it should just fold nicely in half, and there you can see we're almost finished with the box. So I'm just going to start peeling off the backing of the double-sided sticky tape, and I'm actually going to do this a couple of pieces at a time to make sure that when I fold it in, I can press down one piece and then I can stick the next piece directly to it, stick that next piece after I've peeled off the transparency, so I can fold over my final piece which doesn't have any double-sided tape at all, and you have a really nice closure. Now I didn't put the transparency all the way to the edge there, and I did think about cutting it, but then I thought no, I'll come in with my liquid glue and I'm just going to stick that down and just hold it for a second till it sticks. And there you can see inside the box, the last flap isn't quite flat, but if you just put the candle inside so there's a bit of weight, it makes sure that that double-sided tape sticks and you have a nice flat bottom of the box. To close the box, you just want to pinch the sides and then fold where the 1/2 inch score line that we made earlier is. And I'm just using a mini clothes peg to close that in place. You could also use your wet glue to permanently close this up, or your double-sided tape, or you could use a paper clip as well to seal that. And so there you have it, your box is all finished, ready to give away one of these decorated candles. As I say, if you've not watched the video yet, please do click on the link below showing how I made and decorated these candles. And if you want to finish off the box, you can see you can use a tag like I have on this one on the right here, or you could come in with some ribbon and wrap that around the box. You could also add a panel to the front of the box just here, and you could add a stamped greeting or kind of like a gift label, and you could use your leftover trimmed cardstock to add almost like a belly band around the middle of the box. I really hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you have, do let me know by hitting like, and if you want to see more from me, make sure that you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a video. Thank you so much, and if you want to see more from me, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. Until next time, bye!